I woke up this morning thinking that I wish I could find that morning after pill so I could just put out of my mind the misery that was Major League Baseball's trade deadline for my favorite team. I'm so pissed right now with the Baltimore Orioles. I could spit tobacco and I don't even like the stuff. I'm Professor G. Mark Gray, pissed off Major League Baseball fan as we continue to move it along. Once again, I'm singing that same tired old song, wait until next year. But then when you think about it, there are a whole lot of other fans that are around the country who are probably feeling the same way that I do. And those of you in Detroit, I can feel your pain. All right, let's be clear for a second. You don't move a transcendent pitcher, somebody who just has, back-to-back Cy Young Awards, the kind of guy that you put a team on the back of. I just don't agree with letting that go. I think you build around people like that, but that's not what's going on in baseball these days. It is absolutely crazy. Professor G. Mark Gray with you, OG Sports Rap here on the network. Thanks for hanging out with us. Man, it's a difficult pill to swallow if you're a fan of the Orioles right now, because here's the deal, man. These new jack Major League Baseball executives, all around the country, some get it, some don't. If you're Alex Anthopoulos, who is the architect of the Atlanta Braves, you know how to read the tea leaves that we call scouting reports. You just see the game through a different prism, Andrew Friedman is another one of those dudes who does that for the team. I don't know what happened to forward-thinking front office baseball executives. And before the teams, and we're going to have a lockout, so let's just get ready for it. So enjoy baseball for the rest of the season, because this lockout is going to be egomaniacal and frightening. And you say what you want, but everybody said, because it comes down now to wanting a salary cap and wanting a floor. So that means you got a baseline that you got to meet in terms of the money that you're spending on your roster. Let's just say we keep it a buck and say $40 million. Let's just say that every team has to play $40 million. And you can't exceed, say, $150 million. So that's supposed to create competitive balance. What that will do is that will force front office executives to stop crunching numbers and use the eye candy to make the right decisions. And I bring that up specifically because I remember 4 or 5 years ago, and this is the 6th year of MLB Bro. Okay, and I bring that out because I hadn't been covering baseball as close as I had been until we launched the website. So the first year we're out there, right, the Orioles win the division. I'm thinking, wow, I'm the magic touch. We got this team full of young superstar caliber talent, right? What could go wrong? You tell me that we're going to build our team around Adley Rutschman, the catcher. And Adley Rutschman, he had his moments early. But again, I'm that dude that says when you have a face of the franchise dude and he's your catcher, he does more than just be an offensive contributor, okay? Everybody can't be Johnny Bench, Thurman Munson, Tony Pena. Everybody just ain't that guy. Hell, Elston Howard, Elrod Hendricks, Charles Johnson, since we want to talk to brothers in there. But when you get a catcher like Adley Rutschman, you got to make sure that whatever the hell you do to keep him happy, much like Scooble in Detroit. I mean, I will tell you this. If you're hurting in Detroit now because you lost Scooble, Baltimore Oriole fan is crushed. Not only that Adley Rutschman is gone, you trade him in the division. This is the most shocking intra-division trade of the whole deadline, when you trade the face of the franchise, a 3-time All-Star, to the Boston Red Sox. Now, look, Boston does send a 5-player package of top prospects back to Baltimore to seal the deal, but Catcher is one of those positions in sports. When you have the potential for a Hall of Fame one, you keep him. He keeps the pitchers in check, right? He makes all the infield calls. I mean, they call the catcher's equipment the tools of ignorance. I would argue that the catcher is the smartest guy on the damn team. And when you got one, you got to keep him. It's just like your front nine starter. So the question becomes, if you're a fan, how do you develop a relationship with your organization when you get tight with players and they leave? It's ridiculous. And on a personal note, last night, and shouts out to University of Maryland football coach Mike Loxley. He had his annual cookout at the estate. I mean, hey, I think I got into the wrong business. Man, that is a magnificent spot. So we're out there, and I'm talking to the sports information director, Dustin Simonovich. And I was, you had to get the show in and then make your way out there for the camaraderie. It's everybody who's on the beat. And you're just hanging out, eating tremendous food. Oh, my God. Whoa, it was awesome. And so I get there late because of all of the baseball stuff that's going on. And I'm talking to Dustin, and Dustin has to deal with his child, a little girl, who is an Oriole fan, who loves Adley Rushman, and her heart is broken. Literally. And your fan base is the kids, y'all. The sustainability of great memories forces you to have a great allegiance to your baseball team, even more so than if you're in a football-only market where everything is in the top. Baseball is a different animal, okay? Longer season, everyday games. You play 162. Fans get tight with players. And they also develop a resentment when they underperform. But the catcher position is one of those things that you just frontline starter and catcher are things you should never be moving. And if you do, you had better get a haul. So these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, numbers crunching, slide rule using, stat boy geeks, everybody, the front offices these days are being run by himbo types. And what are himbo types? If you watch, what is that? The Scream TV in the morning on ESPN. Name your Scream TV show, whether it's Get Up, First Take, whatever. They got this stat dude named Himbo. He comes up with all these tough questions for their quiz. And I think, the front office's got to have more feel and stop crunching numbers, worrying about slide rules. I remember having a conversation with Mike Elias, who is the, I guess, at least temporary GM, vice president of baseball operations for the Orioles. I remember this line distinctly, and he was talking about a prospect. And he just told me this. He said, there's some numbers that we look at that let us know that he's going to do blah, blah, blah. And I would have to say that the Orioles have been in a blah, blah, blah situation of their own ever since they won that wild card round, and it was downhill in the playoffs after that. Again, Rush had a bad playoff, but he was growing. He's 5 years into the game, y'all. I don't know what the Orioles have liquidated Cedric Mullins to Tampa, Adley Rushman to Boston. It's like the Orioles have become the feeder system for the rest of the American League East. And that's a disgrace to the fans. I mean, you bring the new guy in from Price Waterhouse as your owner, and he's running the team as though it's a bank, right? And I just don't. Baseball fans have been put through enough by the system itself before the organization starts doing everything to make a profit margin. And at the end of the day, people will stop coming to and streaming or watching or listening to games. You get tired of it. I mean, years of ineptitude, when you get to August, which is supposed to be the most fun time of the year, August and September being in a pennant race means a hell of a lot if you're a baseball fan. And there are scores of us around the country right now who don't have a team to, get on. Now, if you're one of those dual marketplaces, right, and I'm the guy, that proverbial fan, hey, look, until the two teams meet, I don't pick a side. So, Orioles playing anybody, I'm pulling for the Orioles. Nationals playing for anybody, playing against anybody, I'm pulling for the Nats unless they play for the Orioles. That's just, I grew up with the orange and black. All right. I spent great times at the old Memorial Stadium. It is a part of me. So this trade deadline was really, really personal because I don't think the team got better. You're banking too much on prospects. Again, back to the slide rule, the statistical probabilities. I need for certainties. And God bless the late, great Eddie Robinson used to once say all the time, the only certainties in life are uncertainties. And one thing we are all certain about in this particular time is that if you're a fan of the Orioles, of which I am, and a fan of the Tigers, why would you continue to make your emotional or financial commitment? And see, this is where, the ownership and the front offices got to get together on how you building teams. There are too many variables and too many players not working out. Now, I don't know if it's a player development system that even the Dodgers have had. Hey, look, let's be clear for a second. If there was an organization that could teach a master class on how to remain at a championship level, and again, it has to do with deep pockets, if you will. And you can say what you want about the Dodgers. They have the deepest pockets. But they also have the best run organization. Okay. Why is it that teams like that get it and teams in other places don't? And don't hand me the notion of the small market. You can't compete. You can compete. And you got to have a different model. There's certain teams, if you know that when a player gets to their max contract opportunity, you can't hold them. You got to win a title while you got them. You got to do everything to build them around. And the front office executives don't. All front office executives want you to wait 5 years. 5 years is damn near purgatory when you got a team that's struggling at the bottom of the division every year. When your team is a bottom feeder for 4 years and then you come out of the blue and you have one shining moment, you have basically sold out your fan base. And I think we get caught up in this trade deadline stuff, and everybody's trying to make it something that it's not. It's disgraceful to the fans. That's what it is. So you got the haves and the have-nots in baseball. And I don't care if you have a collective bargaining agreement or whatever, that's still going to be the case. But when you operating like that, you got to be frugal. And I don't see these guys in the front offices in Major League Baseball right now being frugal with the decisions that they make, being smart. It's like prospects are trade bait. That's what they are. If you're a top 100 player, you are trade bait. Now, and so you get to the draft and everybody's always talking this nonsense about, where the team is going, how the organization is set up for the future. Here's the deal. The future's every night. And the trade deadline just continues to make certain teams go dark, right? And once you're in that abyss, it's hard to get out of it. Anyway, we'll talk more about the baseball deadline a little bit later on in the program. I'm Professor G, Mark Gray. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Remember, download the mobile app, Sports Rap Network. We all we got. There's no way I could accurately break down the Major League Baseball trade deadline than with the managing editor of MLB Bro and my boy, J.R. Gamble. Devout Yankee apologist, I must add. So he's got to be feeling real good about the Luis Garcia signing. I thought it was a big win for the Yankees because the kid is versatile and he found his bat. How's it playing in New York?
My son, J.C. Gamble, he's a real diehard Yankee fan, and he wasn't happy. Most Yankee fans don't feel like the team's moving quick enough. Didn't feel like they were doing enough. and Cashman was not in his bag, which he hasn't been in a long time. So to get Luis Garcia Jr., yes, and then he hits the home run in his first game, that's marvelous. But my son JC was saying they could have got a third. They needed help at third. They needed some more bullpen help. They needed another outfielder. So, yeah, we did. They did pretty well, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to overcome their deficiencies in other areas, right? We still going to need Jazz Chisholm to wake up. No, seriously. He's going to have to wake up. He's in this slumber where he wakes up every 8 or 9 games, does something, says he's the greatest, he's Ali, and then he disappears again. Judge, he has to come back. He has to return.
And he has to be Superman, too.
If he doesn't return, I don't see we have much chance of beating the upper echelon teams. Even in the American League, it's going to be tough because Boston's coming. Tampa gives you fits. And like I said before, when you got to play division rivals, it's never good when you got to face division rivals in the playoffs. And the way it's looking, they're going to have to play a division rival in the playoffs. So that's not good for the Yankees. They lost a couple years ago because of that same dynamic. So,
well, if you do get the bats back, JR, you do realize that changes the dynamic.
One bats back that's guaranteed to come back is Aaron Judge. We've been hearing about Stanton forever. Stanton's hurt all the time. I can't depend on Giancarlo Stanton being available for me. He's just taking BP, like BP. That's not really being in the thick of things, playing, had to go for it, swinging, trying to hit, home runs. Come on.
That's what you got Garcia for, though.
Okay, so you plug Garcia. Now you have one more hitter who has power. He's built for New York City. Got a lot of his peoples there, right?
Yes,
out
he
there.
Does. I don't know. Having watched Luis Garcia and to watch him explode was kind of crazy to me. And he's been hitting so good in Washington. I thought that they might have floated C.J. Abrams out there, but obviously the numbers didn't crunch.
All of the bros survived the cut, except Joe Adell, who, let's be honest, Joe Adell's a journeyman slugger. Right? You catch lightning in a bottle every 30 games or so with Joe Adell, but the consistency is just not going to be there at this point, at this age. Joe Adell is what you call a professional hitter who will probably play on another 4, 5, 6, 7 teams before his career is over. Nah, I'm just saying that's how the game goes these days. He fits the prototype of a guy who's going to be there for a year or two. Catch some lightning, might hit you 30. He's going to hit you one, might hit under the Mendoza line at the same time. OBP might be looking a little crazy, but he can get hot. And, of course, Jordan Walker wasn't going anywhere.
Especially not after winning the home run derby.
And then that's when you're going to see C.J. Abrams and James Wood part ways. Because let me tell you, I think Scott Boras is James Wood's agent.
Okay.
I believe. Because I saw him at the All-Star game with Wood last year to him. Or I said to him, he's going to easily be a $300 million player. He looked at me and said, $300? $400 million player. Or he said 5. I can't really remember. But this definitely happened. Not this year's All-Star. Last year's All-Star. When we were inside and I just was talking to him about
So don't tell me
CJ.
that James Wood is going to be another in the long line of the Philadelphia Nats. You remember they had Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber later on.
Yeah.
and you look at the Phillies, you as a Nats fan, you think, wow, that could have been us.
If you're the Nats and you're smart, you do what all these other teams do. You offer him now. Say, yo, 5
and defer
years.
while you can.
5 years, 150. You want it?
5 years, 150.
You're going to take it.
Scott Boras is not going to let him take that. That's getting away too cheap. That's the reason that they had to get rid of Juan Soto. They had to get rid of all the players that we just talked about who are in Philadelphia. So Mike Rizzo
not.
did a great job shopping for the groceries. I will say that.
Well,
the cupboard wasn't bare. I just don't trust the next iteration.
You need to give it a shot because he told you what the price was. I spoke to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me face to face, looked at me like I was crazy when I said 300 million. And I believe he said 400 or 500. I can't remember the exact number he said. There was a lot going on that day. It was a quick convo. But I remember it was, so he's looking at, and then that's last year. That was Wolf's first All-Star appearance. Remember? As a rookie.
Mm-hmm. As a rookie.
Now, he ain't a rookie. He's just a badass superstar.
He is.
Right? In the league. So I know that price tag is already gone up. So there's no way. Enjoy C.J. Abrams and James Wood, ladies and gentlemen.
As a tandem, right?
Right. And I'm not saying that to be mean or
no, you're not.
To hope that happens. They're tremendous together. The Black Nats, we love them. Nasim Nunez, C.J. Abrams, Dalen Lyle.
Oh, yeah.
James, but we haven't seen anything like this in a very long time. So we would love for them to actually stay together, be good, and be that representation on the big World Series stage that black baseball is back. We haven't had that moment yet.
In Chocolate City, too. That would make it worth it.
We haven't had that moment yet. We're having influx, it seems, of black talent, but we haven't had that black baseball is back moment. I do see some potential, pathways to that, especially in Cincinnati, where we're seeing something that we've never seen in the history of modern baseball. 2 black grade A arms dominating potential in both. Unfortunately, they play for an organization that just hasn't been able to get anything going, I believe, since 1990, when Tom Browning and them guys upset the Oakland A's.
Yes. The last days of the great Eric Davis, right?
Yes.
In Cincinnati,
For sure.
Before he went to Baltimore.
For sure.
Absolutely.
They stole that
Rob
one.
Dibble was on that team.
Yep.
I work with him at ESPN. That's my dude.
I used to love Chris Sabo with the goggles.
Yeah.
Who didn't? I don't know if he was on that team, but I know he started his career on the Reds, I believe.
And on the rare occasion that he would talk, he always had stuff to say. And it was quick. It was firm and to the point. I like to say, but I used to like going in that clubhouse. They were always cool. It was like they were Joe Morgan cool.
That was a laid back clubhouse. And them clubhouses were a little bit wilder back then.
Well,
that's why Dave Parker kept getting traded for. Clubhouse get a little unruly, a little too cultured. Right?
Yeah, it was definitely a different culture
anymore.
In the 79 Pirates clubhouse.
So they call on him.
They were family for a reason.
If you read that book that was written about him, that we ran on MLBBro.com, Dave, what's the guy's name? Dave, something that wrote the book. Sorry, I don't remember his full name.
I can't remember, yeah.
He had many chapters on Cobra, and his trades a lot of times coincided with them wanting him to come in and take the brothers under his wing. Keep them in control, right? It was the Christina Aguilera era. If they're going to do it with Dave in moderation. Like them parents talk about, well, if you're going to smoke with me.
Right.
You're going to drink with me.
But you can't do it outside the house.
That's real.
I know people have heard that once or twice in their life before. Their names will be kept silent to protect them, and type deal. Go ahead.
The trade deadline. I don't think any of the trades that were made, they may influence division races, but I don't think that it changes the Dodgers' position, even if they're not gotten Skubal.
Okay. All right. So you think now, to me,
but I'm not saying it's a given that they'll win. This is baseball.
Right.
I mean,
of course, anything can happen. Yeah.
Right.
But I did want to ask from a historic perspective here. Adding Skubal and a three-peat automatically gets Dave Roberts first ballot Hall of Fame status, or is he already in on the first ballot?
What do you mean? He's already in. He has So he has 3, 4. 1 with the Red Sox, 3 with the Dodgers. That's already Hall of Fame status. But not just the World Series. Naturally, look at his record. He's never had anything close to even a 500 season. The man's automatic 100 wins, 98 wins, 99 wins. Now,
and he innovated the game, too. The 6-man rotation and the stuff that he's done bench-wise, which seems crazy, but he makes it work.
If you know anything about baseball, you know that you can have a bunch of talent all you want. We've seen talented teams. But being a manager is just that. Why do you think Dusty Baker was so prolific? Why do you think he's the only manager to take all these teams to the playoffs, every team he was on? Because he had a certain culture, a certain way that he dealt with people. Once you understand that you're in Major League Baseball and everyone's talented, now as a manager, you are the person that can make a difference between 80 wins and 90 wins, 90 wins, 100 wins, 100 wins, and 75 wins if you don't know what you're doing, as we've seen when first-year college coaches get hired with no credentials to manage Major League Baseball team, right? So managing also takes experience and intelligence.
Exactly.
And
that's the point I'm making. Thank you for saying it. He's the smartest guy on the bench in the game right now.
You can tell me about the analytics and all that stuff.
I don't care. He just has a feel for it. He knows what buttons to push internally. Master chess game when the game starts. He's it. He ain't great. But let me ask you this as a Yankee fan.
Hold on. Before you talk, think of every single manager that's considered great in every sport. The teams were loaded, right? But go ahead.
Pretty much. But you got to be able to manage them. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Of course.
You know, he's that guy, and I'd have to equate him. And you as a Yankee fan may get this. If you had to win one series in October, who'd you rather have? Dave Roberts right now, Joe Torre back in the 90s?
Dave Roberts.
Really?
If I had to win one game?
Yeah, to win a series.
Well, Dave Roberts ain't losing any series right now. Dave Roberts ain't losing any series. Dave Roberts, let me explain something to you. Joe Torre was a losing manager in St. Louis, bro. Dave Roberts never lost nowhere.
I think that's a good place to leave.
That's it.
Anything else after that may leave a scratch in the record. That's J.R. Gamble joining us from the both the Shadow League, who's killing it on the Urban Sports Tip. You need to check it out. And then, of course, MLBBro.com. Shameless plug. I got my Don Baylor kind of had the same managerial principles as Dave Roberts. So check out MLBBro.com right now.
Don Baylor, first 6 seasons as Colorado Rockies manager, also managed the Cubs, 87 World Series with the Twins, 79 MVP with the Angels. Mr. Hit by Pitch is what I call him. Because
what was it, 267 times?
He just throw that shoulder, woo!
And he said, if you're scared of getting hit, this ain't the game for you.
And one of the greatest batting stances, which you did not mention in your Black in the Day, of all time. Him and Gary Carter, they don't have the high batting stance anymore.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't pay any attention to that. I was so overwhelmed by his numbers. I mean, that 79 season was bananas.
But noodle.
I mean, it's incredible. I hate that he never got a chance to win the big one. But when he got his chance to shine, boy, that's one of the more underrated brothers going.
Sure.
Hey, man, thanks for the time, bro. We got more of what you came here for on the other side. This is how we do it. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Download the mobile app. We all we got. While many of us are still dealing with the angst and the, emotions that go with a disappointing Major League Baseball trade deadline for your special team, I got to give credit where credit is due to 2 NFL teams who locked down their running backs and put to rest some of the, controversy is such a strong word, but there were a lot of people in Atlanta and Detroit that were upset that Bijan Robinson with the Falcons and Jahmyr Gibbs with the Lions had to basically, go AWOL for a hot minute to get their money. Bijan Robinson, who many people, and I guess I've been selling them short because the Falcons are notorious underachievers, but he signs a historic 3-year contract extension worth up to $75 million. Gibbs, on the other hand, is right now in the midst of a hold-in. So he wants a deal that's comparable to the one that Robinson got. What Bijan Robinson did for all running backs is reset the market. And, if there's one position in all of sports that needs to be cap free, it would be running back at the NFL position. Seriously, because the physical punishment and the torture that you have to put your body through with all those violent collisions, and the money that you make, you may not even really have a chance to appreciate. I mean, just look at it. First off, you got owners that don't give a damn about the bodies. Hey, they don't. It's like, okay, well, we can afford another one. We'll go get another one. Fine. And that's what happens with running backs. And then you start looking at what happened to Chris Johnson. I mean, we got running backs, old school running back, but Chris Johnson and his inability to talk for all the wonderful things that he did in Nashville, the dude has ALS. Running backs, get your money. Okay? And to me, if you are a running back, you may want to think about getting your money and cashing out after college if you are an NIL athlete. I mean, that's just how it is. Being a running back is a dangerous career choice. Make no mistake about that. Every hit is like a car accident, right? Let's be real for a second. These dudes should be treated almost as though they're warriors of some sort. So when you see a guy like Robinson, and I don't understand. Well, I do understand because Atlanta sees something in Bijan Robinson, and most of the people that you talk to down in the ATL, and I'm efforting to talk to some people right now, so maybe we get some clarity on it. But how about that? Bijan Robinson resetting the market for running backs. And I would have never ever thought that it would be the Falcons who would reset the market for a position player who hasn't really excelled. And see, that's the problem with Atlanta right now. The Falcons are a hard sell to me because, number one, they traditionally have been a brittle team. People drop like flies. And again, it has to be something to do with that fake surface. I'm sorry. They got a wonderful building. I love the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I guess they call it. Now, it is unbelievable. Okay? Magnificent building. But when you have players that are constantly dropping with knee injuries and and that's been something that's been bothering both Penix and Robinson. And if the wide open NFC South is, you have 4 teams that are probably in a position where they're within a game and a half of each other in terms of winning the division, and probably not good enough to make the playoffs if you don't win the division. So it is unbelievable right now how the Atlanta Falcons, one of the most underachieving franchises that we've seen in the league, has now reset the marketplace for a running back. That is absolutely crazy. And I can't, and you know something, in many respects, I look at Bijan Robinson and I think to myself, he must be the best back that they've had since Jamal Anderson. And the thing that Anderson did not have, which Robinson has, is the ability to hit a home run. All right. Any place on the field, he can get the ball. He can take it to the house. That's what you got to love about him. Now, it would take a lot of pressure off of him if Penix could be the quarterback that the Falcons think he is. And that's where we are right now. To me, you've got your running back set. He's got to stay healthy. You've got a quarterback who the team needs to take another step. Robinson should help Penix take that next step if Penix is healthy. And that's the 800-pound gorilla in the room with Atlanta. Okay? I care about the folks in Atlanta. I have good friends who still cover that team. I have, I just got a warm spot in my soul, and I can't wait to get to Atlanta next week for NABJ. All right. So I'll be down at the NABJ convention next week. So hopefully I'll be able to run into a few of my friends that'll have some time to give me some quality knowledge, and that way I can share it with you. So we are hitting the road. We are going to the ATL, and we will talk more about that, a little bit later on in the week. Now, as it relates to Gibbs, totally different situation here because he's been showing up at the facility every day to avoid those mandatory NFL fines, but he's, had been skipping on all on-field practices until his new deal is done. So you look at it, Gibbs and Robinson were both drafted in the first round of the 23 draft. So they both got 3 years in. Robinson's new stealing, however, establishes the exact target that Gibbs representatives were aiming for in negotiations with Detroit. So, this tenuous business side of the game, if you're in Detroit and you're a team that wants to contend for freaking Super Bowl, right? You got to fix the front office nonsense. And I think a lot of times in this world of posturing, okay, let's be clear about that. Some teams want to flex, and they flex too hard, leading to an impasse. Look, these guys are not robots, okay? You have got, and I do believe this wholeheartedly, you have got to get your stars in camp and stop posturing so damn much because it's not good for the game. All these guys, these holdouts not working out, it never works. Because the player, when he's forced into a situation where he has to hold out and he's not game ready, ultimately gets hurt. It happens. It just simply happens. Now, I will say this. As you start looking at the other NFL running backs that are, on the block, big ups to the Jets. Breece Hall came to training camp with a new contract. And so he can now focus on his passion right now to win and justify the fact that he's got a 3-year contract extension, which pays him over $45 million over 3 years. So apparently if you read the tea leaves and you read the quotes that he's made, Breece Hall is the guy of all these backs who are getting paid or under the microscope is the one to watch out for. I was taken back by his quote on AP where he says, and I'm quoting him here, "It makes me more hungry to keep proving who I am, who I say I am. It's making me want to do more than I've done in the past." If you're a Jet fan, you moved to tears. You really are. I mean, that's a gleaming light of hope in what is normally a barren wasteland of disappointed fans. It is what it is. And the Jets are the East Coast version of the Falcons. They just can't get out of their way. They're always hurt, and they always come up short. There's no excuse for either one of those teams now. Okay? Now, the Jets, their quarterback situation is tedious at best. They're going to have to get a lot better defensively, if you ask me. But they got their back in, and he's happy. You can't, scheme away injuries. You just can't. And this running back position is a high investment, high risk versus reward type of investment. And I don't think that people ever look at the human side of being a running back. See, this notion that you put the team on the back of a guy, and he's supposed to get 25 to 30 carries in a game. Physically, you can't do that for 16, 17 games no more. You just can't. And we're seeing it with like so many players that are coming out right now with maladies that's going to shorten their life from playing that position. And again, back to the owners who want to continue to play on AstroTurf. And the beef that I got is that, all right, we got all these damn talking heads, ex-NFL players who are coming on TV. Nobody addresses player safety. Nobody. Guys who have made a mint. They probably wake up in the morning, have to struggle to get out of bed, and they don't talk about. It's almost like a sin, you know? We can't talk about the fact that our bodies ain't equipped for the hundreds of violent collisions that we have for our vocation of work. You get, I mean, you know, they lightly hit you in spring training, but fall camp, but you still get hit. All right. They do, you know, stop the amount of hitting that you take during the regular season to keep bodies fresh. But see, here it goes now. All right. You got your stud running back, but even the stud needs a break. Okay. And you know, the days of just putting a ball in the hands of Franco Harris, like, you know, 25, 30 times ain't happening. You're not getting a Walter Payton, Emmitt Smith type running back anymore. Make no mistake about that. Game's a lot faster, a lot more physical. And then there's the turf thing. And the league needs to deal with that. But you have to have a union that has the balls to stand up and say, hey, look, you got to fix the way that we're competing, you know, and all these domes that are coming up. And we do have science. We do have technology. We've seen with the World Cup that you get grass in indoor facilities. They did it in Dallas. They did it in Atlanta. Okay. They did it in Houston. Right. These blistering hot cities. They were like, no. We're going to play the world's game on the indoors. Why can't NFL owners who ship their game around the world, and when they play overseas on a soccer pitch, it's terra firma, you know, natural grass, right? Why can't we put that on the inside of domes? I don't get it. You can roll it out. You can create everything else in the laboratory these days. Why we can't create, you know, something other than fake turf? All right. That's and see, this is where the league and the owners got to stop being so cheap. Okay, you say, all right, cool. In the case of a Hall, you get what? 3 years, $45 million. You invest in $45 million into the human being, but how do you get your return on your investment when that dude is hurt? Largely because you too damn cheap to play games on real grass. And you know, I don't want to hear that because they're not putting enough into that investment for it to make a return. And we'll talk more about that. Lloyd Vance is our NFL insider, and he joins us right now on a big day of NFL news involving the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons themselves, who are a struggling franchise, made sure that they got running back Bijan Robinson paid. And my question is, did they overpay or did they do right by him?
Mark, you know, a situation where he was holding in, you know, and these guys, that's a new thing that they're doing now. They're not holding out. They're making sure they're at camp, but their agent is negotiating with team. And when you look at what Bijan Robinson got, 3 years up to $75 million, $51 million guaranteed, average of 22 and some change, which beats Saquon Barkley's deal, which is $20 million. I think that's what he wanted. He wanted to show that he was the highest paid back out there. And no, I don't think it's too much for him. You know, it's just a market that's out there. And we've seen a resurgence on the running backs. Last year he had 1,478 rushing. He had 820 receiving. I mean, he is the cog of this offense. And now you bring Kevin Stefanski in, and I'm just really excited to see how they're going to work with him and Tua or Michael Penix.
Yeah, that would be the next question I would ask for you. Big picture, they got question marks at the quarterback position. It's been that way since Matt Ryan was down there. And I've been joking, telling people that the best quarterback on the Falcons roster is their president, right? It really just looks that way. So which of those two quarterbacks then is ready to take advantage of a happy running back who can do everything like Robinson?
I talked to at these training camp sessions, Mark is saying that Tua has looked more efficient. And you have Michael Penix coming off another injury, and I think that's kind of slowed his progress. So a veteran guy coming in there, you got Stefanski coming, you got Ian Cunningham coming in at the GM position, and they're new, to this team. And then you're talking about Matt Ryan, he's coming in. They're trying to change the organization from the bottom up. So I think they're going to go with the veteran guy. And Tua, they brought him there for a reason. Miami is still paying a large portion of his contract. And he's just a veteran guy. As long as he's healthy with those concussions, I think he's going to be able to get the ball out of his hand to Robinson, to Drake London, to Pitts. I mean, you talk about the weapons on his team, and it's a very winnable division.
Yeah, and, you look there, you flip a coin, anybody could win it. You think about it. But that brings me to the perplexing part about both AFC and NFC South. So let's keep it in the NFC here for a second. And you just look, Baker Mayfield is playing with a chip on his shoulder right now because I guess he didn't get the deal that he wanted. So he has something to prove. Bijan Robinson is now fed. Everybody's expecting Bryce Young to take that next step in Charlotte. So what do we make of the handicap of that South? Is it wide open, or is there a prohibitive favorite?
Well, Mark, I believe it's wide open. And when you look at the over-unders on these teams in terms of their win total, Carolina's win total is 8.5. So is Tampa Bay. So they think it's they think it's wide open. Last year, Carolina won it with 8 wins. They went 8-10 if you include their playoff loss. And so I think kind of it's a prove-it season for a lot of teams in this division and their head coaches. And particularly in Tampa Bay, they didn't want to negotiate with Baker Mayfield. They said, all right, you play out your last year on your 3-year contract that you were given in 2023, and we'll see how it goes from there. Played very well, but Todd Bowles, let's face it, he's on the hot seat there with Tampa Bay. That defense was his calling card, and they allowed 24 points per game, and his blitzing scheme just was not working. So we'll see how that works. And then in Carolina, yes, they won a division, but Bryce Young, another quarterback, they said to him, all right, we're going to let you play out your 5th-year option. We're going to wait and see on you. And let's face it, in 2023, number 1 overall pick, has he really lived up to those expectations? In my opinion, not really. He's still inconsistent, particularly last year. They struggled away from Carolina. They were 3-6. So it just shows you, the maturation process and what they want. So Dave Canales there, veteran head coach, and he's used to working with quality quarterbacks. We'll see if he's able to turn around for Young.
My question would be then, is the surrounding cast in Carolina up to the standard that quarterback needs to get them over the hump?
Mark, the David Tepper owner down there, he's not a patient guy. So, he's rich off the field and he wants results. So, yeah, they have Dan Morgan at the GM position and he's trying to assemble some talent, but they have Tech McMillan, Xavier Legette. Coker's done some nice things, but really has he stepped forward? So, when I look at this roster top to bottom, the offensive line is kind of patchwork. You have Terrell Mutan coming over, and we'll see what he has there. And Chuba Hubbard's got to step up at the running back position. So, no, in my opinion, there's not a lot around him. And the good thing is we're going to get to see Carolina right away in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday. They play Arizona, and it's crazy enough. I shouldn't be looking at the lines, but they're 1.5-point favorite in this meaningless game.
That's dangerously close to becoming a degenerate gambler. Just dangerous. So you might want to pace yourself. That's my guy Lloyd Vance as we break down the NFL here as spring. Well, I guess you could say fall camp is certainly in practice right now, all throughout the league. And we start talking about the money that Bijan Robinson gets from the Falcons to reset the market. What do you think that means for Detroit's Jahmyr Gibbs? These things seem to have a domino effect. And if you look at what some would call outrageous money that the Falcons just paid. What do you think that means for Gibbs in Detroit?
With Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, he's another hold in there with the Lions. And everybody's in his fantasy football picks are picking him very high between him and Robinson, or the number one guy on the board. Well, now it's going to be up to Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, the GM with the Lions and the Ford family to kind of figure out what's his value. And that's a big marker that Arthur Blank put out there in terms of Bijan Robinson with that $22 million plus contract out there. I know a lot of people that I talked to said the Eagles kind of were crazy giving Saquon Barkley that $20 million average, and that set the market. And he's going up to 30 years of age, and we've seen running backs in the past kind of wear down. Think of Todd Gurley, guys like that seemed like they were on the right path, and then they kind of fell off a cliff. So, Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't taken a lot of hits, always was kind of in that rotational role with Montgomery. Montgomery's down in Houston. So I think this will last through training camp a little bit, but I think he'll get it done. But the key thing is he's signed. And when a guy's signed, if he's not at camp, it's $50K per day in terms of fines. So I don't think he's getting fined, but eventually he's going to have to get out there.
Passive aggressive civil disobedience, right? It's just kind of crazy the way that they're handling these things these days. To the safety of the running back. And I bring this up because we know now that Chris Johnson has ALS. Definitely has been a significant contribution to the disease that he has. And there is this notion afoot that the Players Association should fight harder for more natural grass services, even in the dome stadiums. Where do you fall on that? Do you think that the Players Association has enough of a voice to, for lack of a better term, force the owners to move in a direction where it can be medically proven that playing on terra firma is better for your body?
Mark, and this is something, would come up with player safety and health. You talk about CJ2K and his unfortunate situation with LLS. Amon Green just came out and said that he has Parkinson, another former running back. Mm-hmm. And you wonder about CT and the hits and the playing environment. And a lot of the players, when they were watching the World Cup, they saw that they had transformed all the stadiums to grass. That's where they were playing these games in SoFi, MetLife, and some of the other stadiums. And why not have that for the NFL?
Heck, Mercedes Dome in Atlanta.
Yeah, Mercedes Dome had it there too. So they need to get done. The collective bargaining agreement, I think, is up around 2030, and this could be a bargaining chip for the players in saying, look, have that natural surface. It's better physically for the players, and all those years I went to games at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia where it was just a rug over some, concrete.
Some cement, yeah.
And a lot of the older players that I talked to that played on that said that was a problem. And if they look at the medical history and the metrics, yes, it's going to prove out that it is better to play on grass for the majority of your career. So I think, the players should try to negotiate that. The TV money's rolling in. You got Netflix, you got Prime, all these games all over international waters. Why not pay these players, and have their health longevity going forward?
To me, it makes more sense physically. If you make an investment, what is it, $20 million a year in a running back, that you want that guy out there to play. And I don't know where the forward thinking has to come in. Should it be an initiative that's led by the union, or is it something that you get a group of owners together and they have to figure it out before they move on the opportunity to do something different?
Owners, it's up to them, Mark. They have the leverage. We always say about who has a hammer in these situations, and they always have it. They got the revenues rolling in, and it's $1 billion league, though. And they're making a lot of money on these TV contracts, these international games. They're finding ways to monetize the game, but the players are the product. That's why people are tuning in. That's why they're gambling on it, playing fantasy football with these guys because of the star players. So why not, as you just said, invest in their product and have their stadiums be, top of the line? They just saw it with the World Cup and these playing surfaces. Why not have it for pro football players too?
I don't understand that at all, really, especially with the enormous sums of money and you hit all the, bases, the incredible amount of money that the networks are paying. I'm just wondering, could they, because your game loses value when your superstars aren't playing and can be watched on TV. This seems to be something that a whole collaborative needs to come together on. And I think the TV networks in this case, with the enormous sums of money that they're paying for rights fees, have a right to be at that table. What do you think about that?
They have stake in the game, and because they're, as you said, they're bringing the money and they're the conduit between the fans. So yes, why not have them involved? I know that it's usually players and owners, and they'll work it out. It's a situation where you want to have these star guys out there. Just think about last year's AFC Championship game. All the air that came out of the balloon when Bo Nix wasn't playing in that game, and everybody was like, "Oh, the backup's in here," and you're consigned to seeing a pretty bad product, and they want to have their stars out there. So, yeah, that's a great point you made.
It's funny that you mentioned Denver because we are efforting to track down Mike Lyle out there right now in order to talk about, where the Broncos are, because I think that they're in an interesting spot right now. Still got the nasty taste in their mouth of what went down at the end of the season. But when you look at them on paper, I got to put them amongst at least the top 5-6 teams in the league. What would you say about the Broncos coming into the season?
Well, the Broncos, it's all about Vance Joseph and that defense, Mark. They were just a dominating group up front, led the NFL with 68 sacks. And then you have Sean Payton on the other side. He's the mad genius in terms of that offense. As long as Bo Nix is coming back from that ankle injury, which everybody I'm talking to saying he's feeling healthy, ready to go. This is going to be a dangerous team. So it's going to be a battle. Their win total over under 9.5. I think they beat that number. They're probably 11-win team plus, and when you start talking about bringing in Jalen Waddle at the explosive receiver position to put him with Franklin and Sutton, just a myriad of great players on this offense, and Garrett Bowles, one of the best offensive linemen protecting their quarterback. So, yeah, I think they're going to be a very good team. Watch for R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins. One of them's got to step forward and be that lead back for him.
That's my guy, Lloyd Vance, as we break down the National Football League. We'll be doing it each and every week, so lock it in. Make sure you're with us, and we'll be dropping knowledge on you like it's hot. And remember, this is just for entertainment purposes. So if you are pondering going into the, mortgage or the kids' college fund, call 1-800-GAMBLER and get yourself some help. Anyway, hey, Lloyd, thanks a lot for the knowledge, bro. Talk again to you real soon.
Mark, thanks for having me on.
We got more of what you came here for on the other side. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Download the mobile app, Sports Rap Network. We all we got. Yo, who says the bank ain't open in the NFL? Boy, they are passing it around. The case is flying this week. I am Professor G. Mark Gray. We continue. It is OG Sports Rap on the network. Thanks for hanging out with us. Up the road from me in Baltimore, another NFL wide receiver getting paid. And, when you get into collective bargaining agreements and stuff like that, people always talk about productivity, but I'm not quite sure that the productivity is keeping up with the way that the salaries are moving forward. And that brings me to Lamar Jackson's primary target right now, I'd have to say, Zay Flowers, who signed for the really big bucks earlier today, $140 million in a contract extension. And it kind of makes you wonder, for real, is he really worth it? Now, it's a 4-year, $140 million contract extension. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler. Now, he's coming off a season where he had 86 catches for 1,211 yards and only 5 touchdowns. Now, I will say this. As a first-round pick, he has been pretty consistent in terms of being Lamar Jackson's primary target. So if you want to keep Lamar Jackson after you fired his conciliary, if you will, right? John Harbaugh was the protector. He was the bulletproof vest for Lamar Jackson. He's gone, but they got Flowers and Jackson and Derrick Henry. Hey, look, I don't want to say a team is on blast on the hot seat, but Steve Bisciotti, by firing John Harbaugh after 18 years, really has this team teetering on the brink of either making a run at the Super Bowl, because this is a wide open year, and Baltimore would be, the fan base and all that who give Lamar Jackson every benefit of the doubt, known and mad. And I'm sorry, he's grossly underachieved, and I don't care about your MVP awards during the regular season. What I care about is what you do in the postseason. And for as much as Joe Flacco is an afterthought, he was big in big games during his time as a Raven. I'm looking at Lamar. I can't say that. And I'm not blaming Lamar on everything that goes around him, but it's players like Zay Flowers that don't step up in the postseason. It's like you got two versions of Derrick Henry in Baltimore, You've got the regular season beast and the postseason ghost. That's what you got with Baltimore. But you can't say that in Baltimore, because next thing you know, you have some coked up white boy trying to run up and punch you in the face if you're wearing burgundy and gold. Not that I was going to bring up crude behavior in Baltimore, but it happened. And it happened because it was posted on social media. Okay? But I digress. Now look. It's put up or shut up time in Baltimore. It's a winnable division. If your defense is anywhere half as good as it's been over the last 4 years, even against Cincinnati, you got more than a puncher's chance. I mean, Pittsburgh doesn't scare anybody offensively. I mean, you got a great new coach in there, but, I mean, how much real artillery does Aaron Rodgers have left in his arm anyway? I mean, that's just where we are with this thing. So I'm looking at Baltimore. They've made significant investment to try and be a better team. But are they? I mean, really, players are going to have to step up because your coach is a first-year guy. Is Zay Flowers that guy? I don't see that in his, I mean, let's be real for a second. I forgot who wrote the book Disappearing Acts, right? But Zay Flowers is a disappearing act in the postseason. And that's where you need him the most. Okay? Now, again, last year, breakout season, 1,211 yards, 5 touchdowns. I need more than 5 touchdowns. I do. If you can have 1,200 yards, you got to be able to score more than 5 touchdowns. I should have 3 more of those passes that should be touchdown catches for whatever reason. And again, Todd Monken is gone, and probably the best thing that happened to the Ravens is Monken's now the coach in Cleveland. Not a big Todd Monken fan. Some guys are better suited for college football, and that to me is Todd Monken. Okay, but that's Cleveland's problem. That's not Baltimore's. But this is a step-up moment. And see if players are going to start getting these big-time contracts, because it seems like with each wide receiver and each running back, the market continues to reset. Players getting paid, teams getting played. And this is going to lead to some kind of, I think ownership reorganization here, really, because the salary cap is not going to be able to keep up with the escalating number that players are re-signing for. I mean, you get generational wealth in your second contract, and guys are doing it. So here it is, because I don't know about anybody else, but when you think Zay Flowers, do you think he's amongst the elite game-changing receivers? I don't see him as a I don't see him as a Stephon Diggs. I'll tell you that. I don't see him as an A.J. Brown. I don't see that. And they keep telling me, oh, he's really fast. He can make that. Show me. Okay? Show me. And and from now on, when you show me that you're doing something. All right? Don't show me that in a money game, you can't handle the pressure. I mean, that's where I'm at with these ridiculous salaries. I mean, playoff performance and postseason success should be a part of the component that you are negotiated on. Now, granted, NFL players take the biggest beating next to hockey players or anybody in professional sports. Okay? Let's be clear and unequivocal. And I want you to get your money, but I want you to earn it. I don't want you to sit on your ass. Not saying that Zay Flowers is doing that, but to me, you know something? You make an investment, a long-term investment, right? Which is what these contract extensions are, right? They're extending the opportunity for you to be great and get paid in the process. I want to see Zay Flowers do it. He's got to show me. Now, again, the NFL analysts will try to tell you, it's almost like Lamar Jackson now. You're told that here's this great championship caliber quarterback, but in a big moment, you don't see him show up. And some of that has to do with some of his teammates dropping footballs in the end zone. I'll get that. Isaiah Likely was one of them last year who hurt him in a big game. But still, the guys on the outside, what they going to do? And I'm really anxious to see how the Ravens really deal with, I believe, an absence of Likely. There's some really heavy questions that Baltimore has to answer. And the scary part about it is they're operating in the castle as though they don't have a new king. Okay? And things can go awry if you've got the wrong guy assuming the throne because you think you're the smartest owner in the room. You can just run Harbaugh. There was a chemistry between John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson, and there's a chemistry between Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers. But the question is, can that duo get over the hump? And there are no excuses. I mean, just think about the random talent that you got. You got a Hall of Fame running back behind a potential Hall of Fame quarterback and a potential all-pro receiver. I mean, those are three of the best weapons in the NFL. So Baltimore fan has every right to demand a trip to the AFC Championship game this year. Anything less than that is a epic failure. Seriously, because what you've done is you've put Jesse Minter, a rookie head coach, who supposedly knows the, quote, Raven way, a guy who went out to Seattle, helped the Seahawks win a Super Bowl. I mean, everything looks good on paper. But when you're making a $140 million investment on a wide receiver who's undersized too, let's be clear about that. This is not a big physical receiver. Okay, this isn't like Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk. I mean, we're talking a small guy here. You're banking on him to be that dude. And I mean, to me, and far be it from me to qualify as an NFL talent evaluator. That's not my side of the street. I'm an analyst of the games that you play. And from what I see, okay, I see Zay Flowers is a great football player. Okay? He is. He's fast. He's quick. He gets in and out of his race. He's got that twitch thing going, but he's small. And when you got cornerbacks out there that are one, shoe size away from being linebackers, it's going to be difficult for him to get open. Now you got a new offensive coordinator. I'm in Missouri, y'all. You got to show me, Raven fan, Ravens Nation, and I'm not throwing shade either. I'm not. When the Commanders aren't doing well, I want to see the Ravens do well too. Okay? This isn't a condescension beef. This is a pragmatic beef. And I'm looking at the way, and you can say all you want about the greatness of Ozzie Newsome. They not operating in the way that Ozzie built this franchise now. It's almost some kind of rogue thug. I want to get back to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to break your kneecaps if you don't type stuff. I mean, seriously, I don't mean to be stereotypical about Steve Bisciotti, but come on, man. I mean, really, okay, here it is. You've doubled down. You really put the pressure on Zay Flowers to deliver for Lamar, but you're also putting added pressure on Derrick Henry, coming off a 300-plus yard carry season. And if you listen to the reports all over the place from credible, NFL people, they'll tell you that the Ravens want to hang another 300 carries on the back of Derrick Henry. Newsflash, we got running backs right now dealing with dementia, right? We got running backs right now who have ALS. You've got running backs dealing with CTE. At this stage of his career, is it best for Derrick Henry to be footing the bull, that load? And remember, I have to bring this out there just for context, okay? Just for reasons of player safety. This, too, is a guy who played for the Tennessee Titans. And I'm just saying, he got out of there to compete for championships, and that's all well and good. But you have to wonder, he took a lot of beating there. So you wonder if Derrick Henry has a whole season left of him with 300-plus carries. And now with John Harbaugh gone, how does Lamar Jackson adapt to a new offensive coordinator? I mean, Declan Doyle. So there's so many moving parts with Baltimore right now that it's going to be incumbent for them to have almost a perfect training camp. And I'm not talking about winning preseason games. I'm making sure that everybody's on the same page because you've got a new administration, a new management team. And we all know when you get new management, if you're rank and file, which what the players are, it takes time to adjust. There's no time to adjust with this schedule. Let's be clear. Joe Burrow's back. I think Cleveland's going to be a little bit better at the quarterback position. All right. And the only team that I think Baltimore on paper is better than in that division right now is probably Pittsburgh. And these are not the Steelers of, yesteryear, the steel curtain, clutch quarterback play. No, you got a quarterback that's got popcorn for an arm right now. So the AFC North has spent a lot of money on a lot of big-time players. But the question is, which one of those teams is going to get the kind of output on that investment? It is I guess you could call it's the biggest quandary in the NFL, because you could flip a coin and see any of those teams on top and any of them on the bottom, too. I'm Professor G. Mark Gray. It's OG Sports Rap on the network. Remember, download the mobile app, Sports Rap Network. We got. All right, we got a little bit of a programming update. Looks like next week I'm going to be spending some time in the ATL, so I'll be coming to you plausibly live, somewhat local, and damn near late breaking from the National Association of Black Journalists Convention. So hopefully I can get some of the bros and sisters that I haven't hooked up with back in the day that I knew so well to come and join me. So keep it locked right here. Follow me on social media at Sports Groove, 24/7, 365. Computer, smartphone, tablet, however you get your groove on. Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok too. Not to mention we are blowing up with this Substack thing. So follow me on Substack at Sports Rap OG. So that's where we are right now. Energy's flowing. Oh, this has been a heck of a day, man. It's like, you ever put your car in the shop and you think that, okay, just because the oil light's on, it's just like a deal, and they tell you that, okay, we got to replace some things in there, but you are covered under warranty. And I'm like, yes. Didn't expect to be without my car, though, for like 5 days, but, got the rental a whole bit. So we're doing pretty good as far as that is concerned. I know one thing. I'm used to being, I've officially become that old G that has to have, at the very least, a hybrid truck. I mean, I'm cruising around in a Camry right now, and it's a slick Camry. I'll give credit where credit is due, but it's just not me. Not now. I'm not, the old dude that needs some space. Spread your knees out, if you will. And I had to do something earlier this morning, boys and girls, that I really hate to do. I had to go to the doctor for a follow-up. Yeah, I am that guy who has that phobia about the doctor. I hate the doctor. I have horrific memories of needles when I was younger and a little bit, under the weather. Just It frightens the hell out of me. And then, and there are a lot of people I understand that are like that. And the last thing that you need to do when you paranoid, even though it's just for a follow-up, and you're not even getting admonished by your doctor. And like, yo, you guys strengthen up your prescription and, do a few things. But at least, hey, did find out, the diet is working, have dropped about 15 pounds, weighing in at about 199, normally be at 210. How about that? So I'm feeling good about that. You know what I'm saying? So then, in this process world of medicine, that is more about bureaucracy and paperwork and idle time than it is about fixing your maladies. Because let's be real for a second. If they really did take a good care of you, would we need doctors? I mean, just think about it for a second. I mean, will we read and this is where we are. So the last thing, and I'm speaking to you folk in the medical community, because you do have people like me that cover it very well, but we are very paranoid when we go into the doctors. I'm just going to tell you that. And even when you have to get to keep your clothes on like I did today, which makes the experience much, much easier. I mean, you don't have to disrobe in order to, be examined. So I'm doing good. Everything's working out. Like, made it on time, blase. Far be it from me to make a mistake. And this is what you medical people have to understand. And again, especially you younger people who are getting into it. I respect the work of the medical community. I try to be as cooperative and as patient as I can be. But don't sass me, okay, because I made a mistake. I logged in figuring that the computer that I was logging in on was logging me in to let me know that, hey, you're reserved your time for the doctor. Well, no. Hate to be a little gender biased here. This is where some sisters get it wrong. Oftentimes, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And don't be looking down and in a condescending way when somebody makes a mistake in procedure, because guess what? You're only seeing maybe once, twice, 3 times a year, all right? And I was a little offended by that, because we pay insurance premiums, and when we go to use our insurance, you would expect a certain measure of customer service, right? I mean, how am I trust somebody to put a needle in me when you got sassy-ass broads who are ready to jump on you for making a mistake? Hey, I owned it. So I think the moral to the story is, folks, and this is what we got to come to grips with in our society. And I'm speaking to you, ladies, in particular. All right? Because this whole notion of demanding respect, but disrespectful tones and voice, when you expect, because there is a scenario amongst a lot of ladies that, brothers are stupid. I'm not one of them. Okay? I'm going to meet you at a mutual, we're going to meet at the 50-yard line every time, shake hands, and let the referee flip the coin. That's where I'm at. Don't come in flexing. Okay? Don't come in hot, right? And I was always taught, if you having a bad day, when you get to work, you leave your bad day outside the office. And don't amplify your conversation with somebody else who's just as, loud and wrong as you. Remember, real talk here. Common courtesy, decency, and respect is a two-way street, boys and girls. All right. And I'm getting a little sick and tired of seeing all this stuff about, guys are rude. They disrespectful. They don't know how to talk to you. You don't know how to talk to them either. Okay? Now I'll give it to you. There's some dudes that are acting a fool that'll come out their mouth with some ignorant stuff that embarrasses me. I will give you that. I ain't one of them. Don't take out your hostility and frustration on me. Trust me. Okay? And again, I'm sanitizing the conversation here because I don't want to have any detrimental impact. But if you, I thought that the one place, the sanctuary, and I noticed this the last time I had to go to the hospital too. It's like a matter of fact. You're like there's no sensitivity to it. And I'm just like wondering why. What do we, I'm not a person that never wants to be a patient. You know why? Because I have no patience. Okay, I get sick, and it's just like with the common cold. You got to let the common cold run through you. I hate that wait. Them 3-4 days is hell. Hell. You know, you're used to moving around. You're tired. You're lethargic. Your head's in a fog. There are a lot of people around here probably right now think my head's always in a fog, but that's a topic for another conversation. And remember, I know where 1-800-GAMBLER is, so you don't have to worry about me placing any bets. But I'm just saying, man, and these moments and times like we have, right? This is where, like, I don't want to be treated as an elder. You know, just let me be an OG. And this is where we get off the boat with the Gen Z millennial nonsense. You don't run the world, okay? All right, I understand that. There are those of us here who've got a lot more skin in the game. And for you to take that millennial mindset and to just like go all in for something as trivial as signing up with the wrong apparatus. I had to thank my Lord and Savior that I did not roll back into the days of mean Professor G. And I caught myself, and I was heated. Now, why do I bring all this up? Because I'm that dude that has the high blood pressure where you have to take medicine for it every day, okay? And I've been doing that, been watching my diet, you know, then they're, you know, trying to play the game. So you go in there and you're apprehensive anyway, right? And then you get screamed on. And therefore, your heart starts racing. Now, you keep your composure, but I don't know about anybody else. There are moments when you're so pissed off, you can feel your heart racing. And then your brain kicks in and says, you know something? Let's exit stage left before it gets out of hand. Right? And in this moment, my heart starts racing. I have to go take this, you know, blood pressure test. And I was doing fine. I mean, I had my cup of espresso this morning. I had taken my meds. Everything was cool. I kind of brushed that little incident off as social immaturity, you know, and you keep it moving. But you know, let's be real for a second. We ain't in a time where people can be living like they got privilege. All right? Let's be clear about something. Nobody got no privilege to disrespect anybody no more. All right? And I don't give a damn what them damn ICE agents got people scared of and all that too, but enough already. Enough. And young people, you got to understand, we may be a little older, but we a lot smarter. All right. Y'all can't think for yourselves. You need your phone to think for you. I did not have a phone thinking for me. I can read. I can write cursive. Heck, I know how to give people change back when they give me $1 and a coin. All right. And you think I'm going to let you get away with playing me? No. And again, we talking about young professionals here. Okay? I was taught, especially as a black person, you had to be twice as good to get half as far. You had to always be on point. Now, you were always told that whatever's going on in your space, you got to leave it outside the door. And secondarily, the tone of your voice sets the tone of the interaction. And that's what it is. You know, and I've seen some behaviors, okay, here recently, where they're young folks that are really getting ready to put themselves in a position to end up in harm's way because you don't have any, you know, social skills to recognize, hey, there's ways to address people. And one of them is to not scream at them when you're a nurse in a doctor's office. It is what it is. You know, I make it a point when I'm having a bad day and I know stuff is on my mind, I'm exhaling all day. You got to find a way to get it off. I know these are trying times, but everybody isn't Professor G, y'all. Okay? It's some fruitcakes out here that will take umbrage on account of your voice tone, and it goes way left. Okay? And those are you youngsters, and I'm talking to, Gen Z, the millennials, and whatever you call anything that's after them. Don't let that beat down stuff that you see on social media convince you that you don't run into somebody one day that's having a bad day and it escalates to something just beneath fatal. You don't want that. You don't want that. Trust me. And because this whole thing was like, it was like, okay, this is a dumb dude who don't know what he's talking about. Hey, I made a mistake. I own mine and owned it there. My bad, but don't scream at me. You're not an elder. All right. Hell, I don't even let my elders get away with that no more. As they would say, as I get older, I guess I'm smelling myself a little bit. But I ain't going to take that from a youngin'. And be mindful. Okay? Be mindful. I am one of the more understanding people because I work with young people, college students. All right? I give you the best that I got every time I'm in the classroom. But I will not accept any longer youthful ignorance, defined by clowning. And that's what it is, man. Everybody wants to turn every situation now into a clown moment of content. Don't clown, Professor G. I'll clown you back. Okay? The battle lines have been drawn. Stop it. Okay? Hey, let me leave you with this parting thought, especially you young people. If you want respect, give it first. Just think about that. Make some kind of sense once you think about it. Now, of course, you'll try to confirm it with your millennial, post-millennial, Jill Z friends, and it won't be substantiated on social media. So this is probably falling on deaf ears. But I am Professor G, and I approve that message. That's going to do it for me. I'm out of here. 22 hours from now, we'll be back and better than ever. It's OG Sports Rap with your boy, Professor G. Remember, find me on Substack at Sports Rap OG and check out the HBCU Sports Nation on Facebook. Holla at your boy. Peace.